Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Good Morning Brownsville. My name is Frankie. This is Roman. It is Thursday, September 18th. Today, we'll be talking about political races that are heating up in South Texas. We have the congressional races in the Rio Grande Valley, and also we have uh, new faces that will be vying for the Cameron County Precinct 2 position. Good morning, Roman. How's your day going so far?
Good morning. I feel that Vicente is angry at me right now.
He is looking down on you,
He looks
Roman.
really
What
angry, very upset, and I also feel like I'm in some weird Brady Bunch thing with you. I don't know. It's weird.
Yes, that's exactly what I was shooting for, Roman. Yes,
Dun, dun, dun,
Vicente
dun,
is
dun.
looking down on you. I wonder what you did as of late. I wonder what you said. Maybe it's the whole Charlie Kirk thing where he won't say his name. I'm not sure.
Mm.
Maybe we might post something and get his attention once more. Hopefully. Um,
I'm already gonna do the theme song of the Brady Bunch, though. Dun, 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 dun. Here's the
I actually
story.
forgot about the Brady Bunch. And I didn't even think about the squares. How I guess people were going to I guess correlate that with the Brady Bunch.
I'm a little
Um,
disappointed you didn't do Monica's cowboy hat, though. I'm a little disappointed.
no,
You went.
again, I try to get the ladies as professional as possible. I got their congressional pictures. The men, the men are savages, but the women, you always gotta make the women look good.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Roman, we did get word that Desvelado Tejano superstar with a Desvelado hit did announce for Congress. This
Hmm.
is something that many people have been anticipating. Now he will be challenging the doctor in the Democratic primary, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
What's your take with Bobby Pulido?
Well, I think he expects to win the primary without any problems. I wouldn't be so sure because you might have people that want to vote for a doctor. There might be people in the Democratic Party that won't vote for a man; they'll vote for a woman. So I mean, it might be somewhat competitive. But I fully expect him to be the nominee for the Democratic Party and go up against Monica, and I expect him to get his butt beat against Monica. But I don't think it's going to be as a comfortable a win for Monica as she would want it to be, just because I think that Bobby Pulido's fairly popular, and based on his ad that he posted yesterday, his kickoff campaign, it will be an interesting race. And I don't know if you're planning on playing the video or the ad that he unveiled yesterday, so that some people can see it. Um, but if you do, it's only maybe like a 2-minute video of him, and it's very interesting. I mean, I think it's a strong ad. It's a strong ad in terms of trying to go to the middle. I just don't know how you can go to the middle right now, considering what the leftists in the Democratic Party are doing. If you listen to voices on the conservative side, they firmly believe that there is no leader in the Democratic side. The Democratic side is leaderless. And because of that, how can Bobby Bolido, who's going to claim he's a moderate and he's not Team Blue or Team Red, he's Team U. That's what he's going to say. And that's what he has said already in his ad. How is he going to be able to do anything when the crazies run the asylum? And that's what's going on with the Democratic Party. And you're really seeing it of late. You've seen what the media has done in regards to Charlie Kirk. You've seen what people that are supposedly elected officials are saying about conservatives. They're pointing the finger at President Trump and saying, "When are you going to apologize? When are you going to say you're sorry for what's going on? When are you, President Trump, going to bring us together?" But it's not his job to necessarily bring us together after leftists murdered Charlie Kirk. And I think that's the disconnect. And so it's it's very strange because the Democratic Party. There was an article in Politico. I want to say it was Politico several weeks ago. I think we talked about it, or I mean, at least if not on the show, definitely in private, we talked about it, where it almost felt like the elected officials who were speaking anonymously to Politico were scared of their base. They were scared because they felt the base was out for blood. The base was out to punch people back. They were violent. They were scary. And what exactly could these elected Democrats do? Nothing other than, we'll do whatever you want us to do. Just leave us alone, you know? And they don't have a firm grasp of their base. So, and I bring this up because I don't know how Bobby is going to be able to separate himself from that. How is the people that vote in the Democratic Party in the new part of Texas Congressional 15, they're not your conservative Democrats. Those conservative Democrats up in the northern part of this district don't exist anymore. They're voting in a Republican primary. They don't have a choice, because if they want to vote, they're the opposite of us here in the Valley, where you have people in the Valley voting in Democratic primary, even though they're Republican, because they have no choice. They want to have a choice. That's what they said. I do not want you to do that. If you're a Republican, I want you to vote in our primary. I want you to show that you're a Republican. We need to know that you're a Republican. But in the northern part, it's sort of the opposite. And the people that vote over there tend to be more leftist. They tend to be less conservative. So how is Bobby going to be able to resonate with those people? And if you don't want to believe me, that the northern part is more left of center, just look at what happened a few years back when Sarah Stapleton Barrera ran for state senate against Senator Lucio. Great lady. I like her. She's a friend. I consider her a friend. Her and her husband are great attorneys. They're awesome people. But, and I'm going to say, but she is not a conservative Democrat. She is a left of center Democrat. She's a liberal. She's what they would call a progressive. That is what she is. And she was able to beat Senator Lucio in the northern half because her message, her liberal message, was able to resonate with Democrat voters up there. Because again, those Democrats up there, we're talking like Clayburgh, Nueces County, San Patricio County, which I think is part of 27, and B County, which is part of the Central, just 27. They were like, we're not hearing it. We're not hearing Senator Lucio. We're going to vote for Sarah Stapleton. But that's what's happening here in the Democratic Party. I don't know how Bobby's middle of the road messaging is going to work in the Democratic primary.
Very interesting. And let's play it that way people could get a better understanding, and then you could break down his this announcement, if you will. 1 second.
South Texas. It used to be a place where people with a dream knew that with dedication, hard work, and the grace of God, you could make it. Where even a migrant farm worker named Jose Roberto Pulido, who traveled from state to state with the growing season, could put down his own roots and build a future for his family. You may know me as Bobby Pulido, the singer, but I am Jose Roberto Pulido Jr., the son of that migrant farm worker, a son of Edinburgh, and 100% South Texas Tejano. Let me tell you, I won't stand by and watch the South Texas that raised me, that gave my family a chance, be torn down and divided by people who don't know who we are or how we live, who convince us to hate each other over party labels. Look, I'm not Team Red or Team Blue. South Texas, I'm Team U. The truth is, costs are through the roof and crushing families and small businesses down here. And our representatives in Washington don't have the courage to stand up to greedy corporations, billionaire donors, or even their own party to do what's right for us. Well, let me tell you, I do. Because I know what it's like. I'm a dad raising 4 boys here. Hell, I don't even have health insurance because it's too expensive. I know for us, immigration is a human issue and an economic issue. Good families torn apart, y nuestra comunidad living in fear. I'm sick of seeing that. Yes, we have to get the criminals out and secure the border, but we can do that without destroying families and our South Texas economy. I've spent decades using my voice to bring people together. Now, I'll use it to fight for the place we call home, because this is the only stage that really matters, and it's worth fighting for. We are South Texas, 100%. I am Bobby Pulido, and I approve this message.
Break it down, Roman. What's your take overall on Bobby Pulido's announcement?
This is only the second time I'm watching the ad. I watched the ad first time yesterday, and I was like, okay, it like I said, a strong ad. There were some issues that I felt were problematic with that ad, and I focus really on the healthcare statement that he said. He said that, and so now we have to talk about Myra Flores, who did a beautiful, awesome line. Commented on several posts on Facebook saying vote policy is not your playlist. And I thought it was brilliant. And I'm I bring this up because I think that is where we should focus in on. Let's not focus on the fact that he's a musician. He's a Tejano superstar. His dad was a Tejano legend. He is, seen as a good-looking guy. I think at one point he was he dating Selena, or at least friends with Selena? So people, might recognize that or whatever. But even though Monica is being bien metiche in Myra's primary in Texas 34, Monica's over there, showing, telling everybody vote for Eric, and having him stand up in Hidalgo County LRD meetings and making everybody know that that's her view, that's who she wants. Even though Myra is running, even though Myra is a former congresswoman who's represented 34, and even through all that, Myra commented and said, vote on policies, not your playlist. It is her saying this is the policies in South Texas, the Republican wave that we're trying to create, the Republican majority we're trying to create in South Texas, is bigger than Monica being metiche and getting involved in her race. Because Myra is going to be supportive of whoever the nominee is, and it'll be Monica, and be supportive of Monica even when Myra is the winner of Texas 34 and going up against Chente Gonzalez, assuming Chente Gonzalez even runs. So let's focus on policy for Bobby's thing. He said healthcare is too expensive. Well, why is healthcare so expensive? Why is health insurance so expensive? I should say, because he said health insurance is too expensive. I can't even afford it. I don't even have it. The guy's a millionaire, isn't he? I mean, if you look up his net worth, his net worth, some people claim he's $10 million. He's $6 million net worth, $5 million. It's all over the place, right? He's a millionaire. He's a celebrity. He can't afford health insurance? Really? I mean, do you believe that, Frankie? Do you believe the guy that doesn't have health insurance?
I find it hard to believe that he doesn't. What I found interesting about the ad was that he was stating that, he's not a Republican, he's not a Democrat. Well, then why is he running as a Democrat? He said he's not blue. Is he trying to distance himself from the former Biden administration, from Democratic leadership, who possibly have obviously caused South Texas to turn red? And that's something that we've spoken about previously, how South Texas border towns little by little have been able to convert known Democrats into now aligning with Republican ideologies. Is that what he's doing, Roman? Is he trying to disassociate from those people? Because he obviously is reading the room. It seems as if he's trying to be in the middle. You know what? Yeah. I don't agree. Immigration is a health issue. ICE deportations have been a very big issue, very controversial issue, very polarizing issue here in our area. So maybe he's distancing himself from them. And then the Democrats, blue leadership that we have currently in Washington, maybe they don't see somebody. And I've stated this previously, how the Republicans, it seems, already have like a hierarchy, Roman, after President Trump. There's Marco Rubio. There's our Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War. There's our vice president. There's Nikki Haley. There's so many options to where to choose from. Can you give me options with the Democratic Party? Yes, you could say Bernie Sanders. He's too old, too much of a socialist. Yes, we have AOC. Is she polling good? We have Peter Buttigieg. They're not even polling, competitively. So it's very interesting to see Bobby Pulido trying to walk that fine line, Roman, and bring up issues that are very sentimental, very emotional to people here in South Texas. One being immigration, and the other being healthcare. Hey, I'm a $6 million man. I used to date Selena. I have hit records, but I can't afford health insurance. And we understand, based on his salary, he would pay, based on his income, he would pay a little bit higher compared to, you and I. But for him to say that he can't afford health care, to me, that's a stretch.
It's not just a stretch. I feel like I'm not going to say it. Well, I think we're allowed to say that they're lying, right? I mean, that's not defamatory.
If that's your opinion,
that's my opinion. I mean, he's running for office. He's a candidate. He's I don't know. I think at the very least, I think he's very misleading or disingenuous. At the very least, and because I think he can afford it, he just doesn't do it, right? Maybe he just doesn't do it. And why is he able to do it? Where is that disconnect? He talks about. He has a little picture of Monica de la Cruz she's, supportive of the greedy billionaires, or she won't stand up to the billionaires, and she's greedy for the greedy corporations. And it's an interesting look saying Monica is for the greedy corporations. I mean, is Bobby or his messaging trying to harken back to what occurred with Luigi Mangione and how I guess he felt that health insurance people, CEOs, were greedy, and then look what they did to the man in the middle of New York City, and now he's not even considered a terrorist according to the judge over there in New York, and he murdered somebody in cold blood, and you have people on the left just cheering him, and he's using the phrase greedy corporations, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong in that ad. He has a, so he's still trying to play a little bit with the left and talking about health insurance, because that's a real big issue for the left, right? I mean, the left, brought us Obamacare, with Obama. The idea was health insurance was going to come down. It was going to be cheaper if you just passed Obamacare. Everything was going to be cheap. And now Bobby's telling you that was a crock, because Bobby Pulido, I can't even afford it. I can't afford this health insurance. And so that means Democratic policies, leftist policies that they put in place don't work. Now you can say, well, Roman, of course it's not going to work, because Republicans and Trump took away the mandate that said that it would be illegal if you don't have health insurance in 2018. They took that away at the federal level. And you know what? That's true. They did. You know why? Because it was wrong to say that you're essentially a criminal because you choose not to buy a product. And so Bobby Pulido wants to say, I can't afford it. Bobby Pulido wants to say, I'm not team red or team blue, but you know what? He needs to thank his lucky stars. He lives in Red, Texas, where it's still not illegal not to have insurance. In other states and blue states and Democrat states, many of them, if you don't have health insurance, it's illegal. You are mandated to do it, supposedly. I mean, you could Google that if you wanted to. Is it illegal in some Democratic states not to have health insurance? But he's lucky he lives where he lives in Texas. So he can say, can't afford it. Now, he's also a millionaire, like we're showing right there. It's Liberty net worth. He's worth $6 million. He's a $6 million man. He could probably pay cash. If he has a doctor's visit, he can probably pay cash because he's money. Can you and I, can me and you, Frankie, go and afford to pay cash? No, probably not. We can't afford to pay cash at a hospital visit or emergency visit. Bobby probably could. Maybe that's why he chooses not to have health insurance. It saves him money because maybe he feels, I'm 54 years old. I'm, young enough. I don't have to go see a doctor all the time regularly. Toker may not believe me, but it's true. It's true what I'm saying. That I don't know how you can claim it's bullshit or bullshit 1T. I think this was a problematic ad for him in that respect. Now, there's also another thing that I found fascinating about the ad. And it's more like the tinge of blue that he used. It was a little lighter blue. It wasn't a
Yeah.
big dark blue, like a little blue, like he's hiding it. Like, I'm not team blue. And I thought that was interesting. They didn't use a dark blue background like I have in my background or my blue shirt. It's a lighter blue. Like he's trying to show people I'm not really hard blue, hard liberal Democrat. So yeah, I get it, Tolker. I do. I'm giving you a hard time. It's funny. Anyway, if he's not team red, he's not team blue. Why is he running as a Democrat? That's a very good question. He's not running as a Republican. Why is he running as a Democrat? In Texas, you can still run as an independent. Why not run as an independent and forget the primary and run that way if you're really a team U, right? Right, Frankie? Toker, wouldn't you agree, Toker? At least if he's gonna say he's not for this team, he's not for this team, he's team U, he's in the middle. Why is he running as a Democrat then? He doesn't represent the Democratic Party. Run as an independent if that's what you believe, but he's not going to because he wants the support of the Democratic establishment. He wants the support of the DCCC, which is the Democratic Congressional Candidate Committee. I think that's what it's called. Campaign committee. I don't know. They're the ones who provide money. They're the ones who are going to decide whether they're going to invest in Texas 15. That's why he's running as a Democrat, not independent, because he wants help from Washington. The very people that he's going to claim, he's going to stand up to. But where have we heard this before, guys? Where have we heard this before from South Texas Democrats? Oh, that's right. We've heard it from Chente. We've heard it from Henry Cuellar. They vote the way their leadership tells them to vote. Sometimes, every once in a while, they'll vote. They're a little bone here to us conservative Republicans that live down here in the hopes that maybe some of us conservative Republicans will still vote for these guys in the primary in the general election and support these guys. They'll throw us a little bump, but for the most part, they vote the way the leadership tells them to vote. They vote the way the party tells them to vote. They run on these policies, these ideas, but at the end of the day, they're going to vote the way the party tells them to vote. They're going to vote the way DC tells them to vote. Washington Democrats. I don't know why he's telling people. And I think it's disingenuous many times when you have candidates say, I'm going to stand up to leadership. Whether it's on the Republican side or the Democratic side, it doesn't really happen. Because if you're running for Congress, you're not running for president. You're running to be a legislator. You're running to be a congressman. If you want to get stuff passed by Congress, you have to be part of the team. Look what's happening to Thomas Massey in Kentucky. He's over there, talking about stuff, the government shutdown. And he's great in terms of, I'm standing up for what I believe in. But at the end of the day, what is he accomplishing for his district? What is he accomplishing for the country by doing what he's doing? And you can't do that. They're not going to let you do that in Congress if you're a Democrat. So, yeah.
What has been your observation in regards to his announcement? Has he been getting the reception? There was a Rolling Stone article that came out yesterday in regards to his announcement. Do you see people gravitating, applauding, supporting? Do you think he's going to have that momentum going into March, into the primary?
I mean, yeah. I believe that. I mean, his social media is through the roof. If you go on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, all the social media stuff, he's doing really good. I mean, he may not have a lot of views on YouTube for then you just gave one more extra view. I don't know how many views it has right now when you played it, Frankie. But he's a lot of people, at least on my news feed, are going crazy. I had one former city commissioner comment on my post when I said he called him he's not a millionaire. And I'm just like, bro, like his celebrity worth. I mean, he's worth this much. I mean, he's a millionaire. Come on now. I mean, he's 54 years old. He's been singing since he was like a teenager. He doesn't have any money. If he's not a millionaire by now, then maybe he shouldn't be in Congress because he can't handle his own finance. If he is not a millionaire, that means he probably can't handle his own finances. And I don't necessarily want him, deciding what's going to happen with the budget, So, but I'd like to make a comment to Rose Mart on terms of her redistricting thing. it really wasn't Trump that was asking for redistricting. I've known about this plan for months, since February, December, that Republicans in Austin and Republicans in Washington wanted this redistricting to happen. They wanted it. And the only way Speaker Burrows in the legislature, in the Texas House, who had a lot of Democrats supporting him, was going to be able to get away with doing this redistricting and unifying everybody on the Republican side to make sure this happened, was if President Trump got involved. If President Trump said he wanted it, it would be easier for him to be able to unite the Republicans and also provide him cover, provide legislators cover, so that you would have people like yourself saying, it was all Trump's fault. So now they don't have to take responsibility as politicians. They don't have to take responsibility for what they did. And they should, because I'm okay with the redistricting. I'm okay with it. I don't have a problem with it. Redistrict every 2 years if you want to. I don't have a problem with it. But, yes, he said it on TV. He's asking for 5 more seats. Again, it was part of the strategy that I'm telling you about. But yeah, it's okay. So I hope I don't want you as a voter to think that it was just Trump doing this. I mean, Trump was like, I'll do it. Why not? Because he does want 5 more seats. I will tell you that there were discussions in terms of redistricting. There were people that there was an argument where we're only going to want 1 more seat. They had 5 different maps, is my understanding. They had 5 different maps. One where a Republican, we would only get 1 more Republican, 1 more, 2 more, 3 more, 4 more, 5 more. And the idea really was for 4. That is what they were really shooting for. They thought 4 is the safest we can do. But the question was, what was President Trump wanted? Did Trump want 4? Did he want 5? And ultimately, President Trump wanted 5. And so that's the map they went with. They needed to do that map. I mean, they didn't even ask congressmen like Chip Roy, hey, where's your house so we can make sure we draw you in into whatever map. All they told was congressional Republicans. All they told them was 60% of your district is going to remain the same. You're going to get 40% new stuff, and take it, do it. So and they didn't even do it. So the first time around they voted for the first map. I think in this first special session, Chip Roy wasn't even in his district. Now, granted, he's now running for attorney general, so it doesn't matter. But still, the optics at that time. And so when they did the special session number 2, they they changed it. They made sure that he was in the house. They did a little flop over there in the El Paso area. They did a few changes to it, but for the most part, to whatever it was. Rosemary, if you have control, you simply have to ask, and you will be done. Yeah. But again, this was a plan going back, separate of Trump. They just said, hey, Trump says Trump said publicly, I want to do it. I think Governor Abbott wanted the same thing. We'll do it because they needed the cover. Okay. And Frankie, you still there or?
I'm here, Roman.
Okay,
I think it's I want to bring up Adelita's comment. She states, why do Republicans run as Democrats for decades? MAGA are only ones running as Republicans, and y'all stink. Is this where Bobby is hoping to get the Republican vote, even though he's not declaring himself as a Republican? If we ask anybody, we would say that we would think that Bobby's a Democrat. I asked you a few episodes ago, Roman, where we remember how Bobby Pulido was campaigning, endorsing, supporting Vicente Gonzalez. He was making his rounds. Steve Guerra, the port chairman, also was with him. Is it going to be hard for Bobby to gain the GOP vote, in your opinion?
Say that again.
Is it going to be hard for Bobby to get the GOP vote, because he is making this claims against the healthcare, against immigration?
Yeah.
Is this going to be hard for him to make that pitch?
Yeah, in that map, the way it's drawn, Frankie, it is a Republican seat. It is slightly more Republican than Texas Congressional District 34. It is going to be a Republican seat. It's just going to be a matter of question of whether Monica wins by double digits or if it's a 5-point win, but Monica's going to win. And he would have to get a lot of Republicans to say, we don't agree with Monica at all. We think that she's a token, unlike anything I want to claim, MAGA person, and we don't want that. But I would like to point out, we've always had Republicans run as Republicans. We had Jessica Brenta Bradshaw. She ran for Congress in 2012. She's a Republican, and so we've had candidates run. The difference is now Republicans are getting support, and okay, so your question is, why do Republicans run as Democrats? It's hard when Republicans want to run in our party and they're not getting what they believe is the support structure that they need to be able to beat a traditionally blue Democratic area. And it's only been since recently, has nothing to do with MAGA, nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with Republicans in Austin realizing that in order to maintain this state, a Republican state, they need to put an effort into winning South Texas. They finally have seen what I have been saying for 25 years within the party structure, within being a conservative Republican for 25 years, longer than I was a kid in high school being a Republican. And they're finally saying, we're going to put money where our mouth is. And so you have organizations or political action committees like Project Red Text that are funding local candidates like county judge, justice of the peace. They're funding candidates who want to run, because part of and I think we said this I definitely have said on an Osmo show, and I think I've even said it here. One of the biggest stumbling blocks for a person to want to run for office is the filing fee, buying signs, and getting push cards. It's expensive to run for office, and so that right there can cost you, if you want to run a somewhat competent campaign, cost you $10,000, and sometimes people don't want to give money. And so this political action committee, which is primarily funded not by your MAGA types, they're funded by billionaires that are more establishment type Republicans. And maybe you don't understand what I mean by establishment or grassroots Republicans, but those in the Republican Party will understand what I mean. But then, so they are providing this funding to these candidates and say, hey, hey, you want to run for office? We'll help you. Now, are they going to be like the best candidates ever? Not necessarily. But then again, do Democrats have the best candidates, really? I mean, have you seen some of the Democrats that have run locally? Are you that much impressed by all of them? I mean, don't get me wrong. I like David Betancourt. He's a cool guy. But should he really be the county treasurer? Really? Come on now. I mean, funny. You've heard the audios from Justice of the Peace, Judge Salazar, I'm sure, or the stories of how she acts being a judge when she's marrying people. I mean, not exactly, Justice Rehnquist or something. I mean, it's just like, I might be aging myself by even naming Chief Justice Rehnquist. I mean, come on. So you all don't necessarily have the best candidates, but they're elected, they're in office, and they get to, be Democrats, right? So now Republicans now have a little bit of money, and then they can run. Now, if you want to just limit it to people like, oh, well, let's say, Monica de la Cruz or Myra Flores for Congress, you want to limit it just to that, not necessarily down ballot people, Adelita. When Myra ran in 2022, she was running in the same map that Jessica Puente Bradshaw ran in 2012. That's what she did. When Jessica Bradshaw ran in that map, it was not a Republican seat. It was not. It was drawn not for a Republican to lose. Just like right now, Congressional District 34, not the one that Chente is currently representing, was never drawn for a Republican to win. But it took gumption from people like Myra Flores to go out there and raise money and convince people that it was worth investing in her campaign. And it also helped that Filemon Vela resigned from office to become a lobbyist, and then had a special election that allowed Myra to be able to win in that old map, and the map that was in existence between 2012 and 2022 for 34, because it finally moved in the direction where a Republican could win. And now, as a sitting congresswoman, the messaging could be national, say, look what we're doing in the Valley. And then she was able to raise a ton of money to be able to go up against Chente. And remember that the map for Chente and the map that was drawn for him to run in 34 in 2022 and 2024, guess what? It was a Biden plus 16 seat. I think it was 16.5. I think Biden beat Trump in 2020 by 16.5 points. And when Myra and Chente ran against each other, she only lost by 8 points. And so she was able to cut it in half because of the money, because of her what she was able to do and convince people. Trump was on the ballot. She was on the ballot. She was a sitting congresswoman. It was a fascinating race. She lost. She ran 2 years later. She doesn't lose by much. Trump even wins the district, but she doesn't win, and people are going to blame her for it. Oh, Trump won, but there were many people that just went and voted for Trump. There are many people that just say, I'm just voting for Trump because that's what I want to vote for. So now her job, and the job of Republicans like myself and Republicans like Frankie, is to be able to convince conservatives, not necessarily Democrats, not necessarily Republicans, but conservatives with conservative family values, conservative ideas, and because our culture is more conservative, to convince them to vote all the way from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket, in the hopes that we will be able to convince people to vote Republican. And now I think people are okay voting Republican. There were some people in Cameron County on the ballot that won that were Republicans. That's good. That means that people are okay running for Republicans. It's going to take some time. And you'll have to realize it's going to take some time. It will happen. It will happen.
Roman, you spoke about funding, about running the campaign. Now that Bobby has made it official, do you think he is going to be able to raise millions and millions of dollars? We have seen how Mayra Flores is an exceptional campaigner. She has raised millions of dollars throughout the years. Bobby Pulido, being the star that he is he going to lack funding? Because I asked that because the obvious answer would say no, he's not going to have trouble raising. But the reason why I stated like this is because you had mentioned that even though Bobby Pulido is a star, Monica de la Cruz, based on the map, she should win. Now it may not be as comfortable as she would like, but ultimately, she is still projected to win. Do donors see that and say, you know what, that's dead money, I'm not even going to deal with it? Or is Bobby going to raise millions and millions of dollars for his race?
Yeah, well, I think that Bobby doesn't necessarily. A lot of times you have to raise a lot of money to improve your name ID, and it like what's happening right now in the race between Myra and Eric Flores and Freddie Hinojosa on the Republican side and Keith Allen. The name ID for Myra Flores is so much higher that she doesn't have to raise as much money as, let's say, an Eric Flores or Freddie Hinojosa to be able to improve their name ID in the district, to get their message out. And if you're not able to raise that money to get your name ID, you're not going to win the primary. Same thing can happening in this situation with Bobby versus Monica. Monica has the name ID. She also has the party label to her advantage in a Republican seat. Bobby has the name ID. People know who Bobby Pulido is. They probably have him, like Myra said, you might have him on your playlist. You might think he's cool. And so you don't necessarily have to raise all that money to get the name ID. You may need to raise money to get your message across. And that's what you need to be able to do. And I don't think he's going to have that problem. You're going to have people like Ramon Ayala coming out doing concerts for him, and people are going to want to flock to it. But just because you have those concerts doesn't go and necessarily translate to those people coming out and voting in November, because midterm elections are different than presidential elections. It's much harder to bring people out to vote in midterm elections. Many, what I would call low information voters, tend to just vote in the presidential election, and they don't vote in any other elections. They don't vote in your port races, your school board races, or your city races, or your county races, or your midterm elections. They don't vote in constitutional amendment elections. They just vote in the president. That's it. And so his job, the Democrats' job, is to try to get all those people to come out to vote in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, he can pull off an upset victory against Monica. And I don't see it. I don't see him being able to do that. I mean, they can try to run what I would call a traditional Democrat campaign of bachanga this, bachanga that, and try to get people out to the vote. But that was when we didn't have the data that we have now. And I say we as, in this modern age, you have a lot more data on everybody. Your phone is just a data machine. When you have all those free apps, don't think everything's free because there's data there and people use that. People buying that data. I mean, you could probably go to your Facebook account and you can see who's been doing advertising on your page and why they're doing it, because they had access to an email list of some sort and they said, we're going to target that person. All that's data. And so we didn't have that, 20 years ago, where, when Democrats were running the roost. Republicans now have this data. Democrats do as well. But now all that data, we can run a completely different race. And also with the funding and low down ballot races, I think it's a shoo-in for Monica to be able to win that race. And I'm not trying to be all, I know it all or whatever, or that I'm, full of myself, or that Monica shouldn't work it. Monica needs to work the election. Monica needs to go out there and run a campaign, a competent campaign. I would argue that Monica needs to stop meddling in Myra's race and start focusing on her race, because Bobby's going to bring it. Bobby is going to do a lot of good for the Democrats and try to bring people out. And she needs to focus on that instead of picking fights with Mayra Flores and trying to get Eric Flores elected. Eric is not going to be the nominee. Eric is not going to get the support of the NRCC, no matter how many times Monica jumps up and down and screams or whatever she does in D.C., trying to demand that fellow congressmen and women, colleagues of hers right now, go and support her boy, Eric Flores. It ain't going to happen. It's not. The NRCC is going to do one of two things. They are either going to get involved and endorse and support Mayra Flores in the primary because she's a former colleague, or they're going to just stay out of it because they're not going to go against a former colleague. Again, no matter what Monica does. So the smart thing for her to do, just as she posted yesterday, is politics can wait till next year. My job is to do X, Y, Z for the people. That's what she posted yesterday, late yesterday, after all the stuff that happened with Bobby. Well, if that's true, Monica, then stop doing politics and stop meddling in 34. And just let Mayra have it, because she's going to be it. We're just hurting our party by doing this. If you want us to unite as a party in South Texas behind all Republican nominees, stay out of doing your little queen making that she's doing, that it seems like to me. It just seems like that way to me. Doing her queen making, whether it's refusing to endorse Mayra in 27 when she was a candidate over there, and now, but being totally okay with endorsing Eric Flores because that's her boy in 34. And then knowing that Myra's going to switch over, because we all knew it was going to happen. I have no doubt in my mind. And Monica saying, I don't care. I want to still support him, and then going out there and parading Eric around in Hidalgo County, even though Hidalgo County wasn't voting in the Republican primary nor the Democratic primary or in the general election in 2026 for Texas 34. So my advice to her and her campaign is stop doing what you're doing and make sure that we can win. But something tells me she's not going to be able to stop. I don't think she can control herself politically. I don't think she can.
What's the bad blood? Where did this come from? Because they were former colleagues at one point, if I'm not mistaken.
They were never colleagues in Congress together, but they were running mates of sorts, right? They, in 2022, in November 2022, and again, I'm not sure there is any necessarily bad blood between Mayra and Monica. I don't know any personal stuff or anything like that. I'm not going to tell you all that. I know the ins and outs of everything. But this is just me as an outsider. Well, an outsider from their relationship, but a party insider, I guess you could say. Mayra was the incumbent, technically the incumbent congresswoman. She won a special election in the summer of 2022. The map that was drawn for Congressional District 34 was never a winnable map. for a Republican, was not supposed to be won by a Republican. However, Monica's map was. Monica's map was drawn for a Republican to win for two reasons, one reason and one way. One reason it was drawn was to help Monica de la Cruz win because she almost beat Chente in 2020. He almost beat him. It was unheard of. So they wanted to make sure that the map drawers wanted to make sure that 15 was winnable for somebody like Monica. She was the one they wanted. But when they did that at the expense of Congressional District 34, where they made sure it was more Democratic. Like they could have drawn a less Democratic seat if they wanted to, but they didn't. They purposely drew a more packed blue seat where it was a 16.5 Biden seat. And they did that so that Monica could win. That's what happened. So when in 2022, in November 2022, and up until that point, you had the three amigas. You had Cassie Garcia, former staffer at the time of Senator Cruz, who was running in 28 against Henry Cuellar. You had Mayra Flores running as the incumbent against another fellow congressman, Vicente Gonzalez on the Democratic side. And you had Monica de la Cruz running against, I think it was Michelle Vallejo. I think it was.
Yes.
And a lot of emphasis was put onto Mayra. There was a lot of, hey, we're going to focus in on her. We're going to give her money. She's going to get top billing. Why? Because she's a congresswoman. Of course she's going to get the top billing. She's going to get all the attention. And also because they felt, I believe, that if she wins re-election, that means Cassie wins. And definitely Monica's going to. They knew Monica was going to win. So maybe internally she felt a little bit shafted. Like, why didn't people pay attention to me as much as they're doing Mayra? Why is it always about Mayra? Why is Mayra on Fox News? She's on Fox News because she was a congresswoman. That's why. And I don't think she got it. I don't think she understood that. And so when Mayra lost, Monica won, and Monica was celebratory, and now she'd been in Congress for 2 terms. And so she feels that she's entitled. I believe, this is my personal belief, I believe she feels she's entitled to that respect and to be the queen maker of all Republican politics in South Texas. That's what I think she believes, and which is why she's very supportive of Tano Tijerina in 28. She's very supportive of Eric Flores, and allegedly, again, this is an alleging thing. Allegedly, her brother or a relative of hers is considering running in Texas Congressional District 35, which, by the way, Texas Congressional District 35, a lot of that new area is part of the old 15 that she used to represent. So, again, she wants to be the queen maker of South Texas. And she has a really, really big fight against fight on her hands against Bobby Pulido, because I think independent-minded people will know who Bobby is, and I'll vote for him. He's cool. You're gonna have women. I want to vote for him. He's awesome. He's hot. I'm gonna vote for him. You might even have, guys say, "Hey, man, I love the song. He's a great song, and he looks good in the cowboy hat."
I hope I don't sound disingenuous, but it's obvious, at least to me, that the star level between Monica de la Cruz and Mayra Flores, you can't compare. And I say that with all due respect. It's interesting that you state that. Did you say Monica's family member or was considering running for 35?
Yeah, that's what I heard a few days ago. That I heard that was up for consideration. Again, these are things people hear about. Again, these are rumors, political rumors. Just like when we were talking about Steve Guerra, the rumor is he's gonna, announce very soon or whatever, and he's gonna run for county judge. He may not even run for county judge. He may decide to back out and not do it. We don't know. People out there are names being thrown out like crazy. I'll give me as an example. In 2023, Nurit Galansky, when she ran for re-election, thought I was going to run because she had heard, hey, Roman's going to run. She was asking friends of hers that are mutual friends of mine. We have mutual friends. Sorry. And asking, is she going to run? You going to run? Like, she thought I was going to run. I was like, I'm not running. I'm not going to run. But people thought I was running. You hear names of stuff, people running. Same thing here. Again, I don't know for a fact, 100% accuracy that this is going to happen. But I've heard names. I mean, it's still the name talking season. I mean, as it is in Congressional District 34, we might have more people coming in to run against Mayra in the Republican primary. And guess what? All that's going to do is benefit Mayra. because she's the one that has the highest name ID, and she's going to win 51% of the vote, 50% of the vote plus one. And I think she wins without a runoff.
Yeah, ever since she made the announcement, I haven't heard much about the other parties, the Keith Allens, the Kunkles, who else is out there? Horsa. Um, Besides their announcement, and I know Eric Flores has been posting that he's in Washington, he's in Houston, trying to gain support. I would dare say that after Maida made the announcement, he started to realize very quickly how, number one, the most important thing, in my opinion, the money's going to dry up. The support he's not going to get. Did he go to Washington to speak with the heavy hitters or their offices or their representatives to request support for this position? What was his response? Um, Also, his meet and greets, they're not like hundreds of people, and maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I go back to the whole rock star, and I had some friends, Roman. I had some friends make fun of me because they're like, "Oh, you're saying she's a rock star or what?" I was like, "Well, yeah. Like whenever she walks into a room, she has like an aura to her. Like all eyeballs are on her. She's like the elephant in the room whenever she walks in." And I think other people can see that. People may hate to admit it, but that's reality. And I think these other candidates. They're starting to realize that. They're starting to see, um, you know, maybe it was a bad idea. But what else can you tell us from 34? Um, you did state that there might be a possibility that other names might come uh, declare. We have until what, December, Roman, until the deadline.
I believe it's December 8th is the deadline.
Do you anticipate more candidates in this race?
Well,
Do you take Vicente Gonzalez at his word that he's staying as a Democrat? He's staying in the race.
yeah, we haven't even discussed that, recently. But ever since he's called your post bull poop. I don't know. There is a comment that Rosemart made, and I don't know if you're able to put it up, Frankie. The one that says, she says the state doesn't need the valley to stay red. Okay, I think what you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. If you were around 30 years ago, like when we're doing Democrats first law, when when in 1998, when every single Republican statewide held every statewide office, that happened in 1998, and you would listen to political people, not too unlike myself. Like now, because I was young, I was a teenager when this happened. You had people say, "Don't worry about it. The Republicans will have it for a little while. Maybe 10, 15, 10, 20 years. It'll be a Republican state, but demographics are changing. Demographics are going to change." And all those little kids, all those people, and they were. I was a student. And they would point to me, or people like me because of my color, I guess. People like him, people like you, they're going to become Democrats because they're going to be able to vote. And they're going to make the difference. And these professors would say these things, right? Political professor. I remember vividly one professor saying that. And we are now, that was in 1998. We're almost 30 years later. And there is no hint whatsoever that Republicans are going to lose the state. But it doesn't mean it can't happen. I mean, there was a time where every single statewide office was held by a Democrat, right? Everything. There was a time that happened. And you had people, Democrats, didn't believe that would happen, but it happened because people changed parties, they flipped, they still remain elected. They were Democrats elected one day, and then they were elected Republicans the next. That's what it was, right? And so, but in order to maintain that buffer, Republicans have finally realized that they need to attract South Texas voters. They need to be able to go after Hispanic voters who are conservative. At the same time that Republicans are doing that and targeting Hispanic voters, you have the Democratic Party. Whether you like it or not, Rosemart, you may not agree with me. You might say I'm full of crap. El Toker's going to come in and say, can't believe him. But I'm going to tell you that Democrats are basically, I'm done with the Valley, statewide, state Democrats. They're done. Why? Because they feel that Democrats down here are not as liberal as they are. It's easier to turn people in Austin and San Antonio and Houston and Dallas. They're going to focus on those bigger areas because those Democrats, those Hispanics are the right kind of Hispanics that will vote our way. And Democrats are thinking this way. It's a crass way of thinking about it, but that's their strategy. And more power to them. They want to do that strategy. Great. It's not too unlike how Republicans are doing it here, where they're like, hey, they're conservative Hispanics. We need to target them because they believe what we believe. We believe in God, family, country, patriotism, law enforcement, law and order. They believe in all that stuff. Let's target them and try to get them on our side. And again, it's about increasing the margins of victory for Republicans. And that's why they do need the Valley to stay red as can be. I hope that makes sense, Rose Martin. I hope you will understand it. I'm not speaking out of turn and I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way, but that's what's happening. Juan Carlos said Republicans just want to win. Well, yeah, so do Democrats. They're just not winning. Rigging and cheating is the only way Republicans win. No, it's not. It's that they're not rigging and cheating in order to win. They're trying to get the values. When Democrats controlled the state of Texas in the state house, Democrats did. Your party. I'm assuming you're a Democrat, Gumboy. They had so many more seats percentage-wise in control of Democrat seats than Republican seats in the 1992 redistricting and 1982 redistricting. I think you would go look at those maps. I don't know if we're able to do that right now. We probably can't. But maybe another day we will. We can look at those and you can tell me whether I'm full of crap or not. But Democrats had no problems gerrymandering it. So they didn't have a problem. Why should Republicans not do the same? It's a Texas tradition to do that, to try to get as many Republicans elected to Congress as possible. And why does that matter? Why is that important? It's not cheating and rigging to be able to win. It's so that the state of Texas can do better. Because at the end of the day, we get more seats in Congress as part of the House majority. That means more money for the people of South Texas and the people of the entire state of Texas. You get more appropriated money being in the majority than in the minority. I mean, just look at the way the House of the House of Representatives is. When whoever gets the majority, when they get their little meetings, their lunch meetings or whatever, they get the big room. They get the fancy area. The majority of the Speaker of the House, their offices are so much better because they're in the majority. The minority, they get a freaking office in the basement, essentially. That's what happens. So just think about the appropriations. So if you're a Texan, Gamboa, you live in Texas, I'm assuming. I'm assuming you live here. Don't you want as much money as Texas can afford in order to better the state? Don't you want more money to better the flooding situation? You have so much flooding happening in the valley. Don't we need more infrastructure because Democrats are not doing the right things in the valley, where you have people in the city of Brownsville, for example, where we were talking about this just yesterday, right? We were just talking yesterday how in Southmost we're getting the shaft and we're not getting the growth. Well, yesterday the city of Brownsville, Mayor John Cowan and everybody was breaking ground on a new awesome law enforcement security thing over on 511 or on Pared Line Road. Moving all that stuff instead of being in downtown Brownsville, all over there. It's closer to freaking Los Fresnos. Why? Because they want to grow over there. And again, forgetting about, Southmost. But you want all that money, right? You want to be able to build these nice things. Well, you want to be part of the majority. It's the way politics works. That's why you get involved in politics. So it's not rigging or cheating as you're claiming. It's just trying to be able to get Texas as many people in Congress that are Republicans because they're in the majority and they're going to be able to fund the things that we need here in Texas to succeed so that we can be the best state possible for jobs, security, and infrastructure. Oh, Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy. What's up, Jimmy? I believe the Valley is flipping in a Commonwealth sense in what party is most closely in line, closely representing the people. Roman, you have the most honest outlook, okay, on which party will win. Yeah, I think Republicans have a very good shot. Do I think that Republicans are going to win every single seat? I mean, Jimmy's a good example. He ran for sheriff. He had some support, but there were people in our party that didn't want to help him.
Who in particular?
I had, yes, I had the chairwoman. At the time she wasn't the chairwoman, the incoming chairwoman blast me into my face where she said she was going to end me or end my, political relevancy or whatever the hell she was trying to say. She was upset because I was encouraging someone like Jimmy to run for sheriff. She's like, "Why are you doing?" Because he was a Republican before she was a Republican, active in politics. He ran for sheriff in 2012. And then we needed a candidate, but she was upset. Why are you having him? Like, it almost made it seem like she was going to support the Democrat, whoever the Democrats nominated. And she was the incoming chairwoman elect. I mean, that's what it felt like to me. And did people, and you could see the amount of support that he got. I mean, Rami Martinez got more percentage votes than Jimmy did. So there were a lot of Republicans that voted for Trump and voted for Rami that didn't vote for Jimmy. But we had to change that. We have to change that. We need to make sure that every single Republican, just like the Democrats do, or try to do anyway, every single Republican on the ballot gets the support they need. I mean, I was extremely disappointed, Frankie. I think very disappointed to hear on Monday, and I got a lot of like oohs and all that, like very upset at my questioning of one of the leader of some Republican club that I happened to attend, where he was talking about, you have to have candidates in order to have good candidates. And in order to have good candidates, they have to come to trainings, and they need to come to trainings, and they want our support. And it almost seemed like to me, that's why I asked the question, that the Cameron County Republican Party was going to be endorsing candidates in the primary. So I have to ask, I want to make sure that they were not doing that, because I don't want that. I want people to be able to win on their own merit, not because of endorsement of the party structure, especially in the primary. I mean, you might say, well, Roman, how is that any different than the NRCC getting involved in supporting Myra? Well, because she's a former congresswoman, that's the difference there, but locally, we don't have any elected Republicans, well, we do have some. We have 2 justices of peace, and we have a constable that's Republican, and we have, Janie Lopez, that's a Republican. And I think that's it, in Cameron County. And so anyway, so go back. So this gentleman was saying that, they need to come here. They want to support. I want to make sure they're not going to endorse it. He said that they're not. And I said, okay, well then why? So you're saying that we're going to not help them in the general election, even though they're Republicans, if they don't attend these trainings? And I was asking this question because, quite frankly, in the case of Myra Flores, does she really need to be going to a candidate training their Cameron County Republican Party is throwing on Saturday? Do you think she needs to do that? No, of course not. She could do the training herself because she's run for office. She's been a congresswoman. No por nada, but she's an expert. Does she really need to go to your training? I mean, I didn't bring this up, but that was on the back of my mind, right? And so he said, no, we're gonna help. We're gonna help Republicans. Okay, good. So and again, and I went back. Are you gonna so you're telling me you're gonna only help certain candidates in the primary? No, we're not doing that. People were upset at me. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that we need to help every single Republican. Every Republican on the ballot, up or down, whether we like them or don't like them. We need to, because that's the way we're going to either win together or not at all. And that's what I think. Anyway, but that's what happened with Jimmy, unfortunately. And hopefully, this will change. And I'm willing to work with Deborah Bell. I mean, our chairwoman. I'm willing to work with her and be able to get things. I mean, I spoke with her maybe about a month ago or so, and I talked to her about the issues like the bond. Even though she can't vote for the bond, I can. But maybe the party can get involved like we did with the arena and talk about these local issues that matter in order to convince people. I'm willing to do that, and I think Frankie, you are as well. And so this is not attacking Deborah. It is what it is. She is the county chairwoman. it's very possible somebody will run against her, and then we'll have a campaign there. I mean, as it was, she was supposedly supporting Eric Flores, right? I mean, she was supporting him. That was my understanding. I don't know if she's supporting him now, now that Myra's in the race. I don't think she wants to, but I think now she's going to be neutral, which is the way it really should be. Honestly, I think she should be supportive of Myra, considering that Deborah Bell has that position in large part because of Myra Flores and her support for her in the Republican primary. That's just my opinion. Anyway, Patricia, you're saying, yes, I was about to mention it too, Roman. La Linda said it wasn't a raise taxes and that people are spreading misinformation that it's going to be built on FEMA grants and other programs as well. Then why not build it someplace else? Like, why not build in Southmost? Why not grow Southmost? Why build it over there by Los Fresnos? Oh, is it because, I don't know. Does the mayor have property out there? Just wondering. Does he stand to benefit by growing things over there? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Honestly, I'm just asking the question. I don't know. Why? Because I heard even last year, I don't know, Frankie, if you heard this too, but I think your Theo was the one who told me that there
Yes, I
was an
heard it.
idea that the city hall, that the mayor wanted to move city hall out of downtown and move it over there. Why? Why move it out of downtown Brownsville? I thought we wanted to support downtown Brownsville. Wanted to entice people to go to downtown Brownsville. Why were you moving out here to 511 over by the GBIC? Why? Again, I'm just asking a question. Why was John so interested in doing that? Did he stand? Does he have property out there? Does he have the growth out there is that vitally important? Is 511 really the center of Brownsville? I'm not saying downtown Brownsville is the center of Brownsville, but it's really the center of the history of Brownsville for sure. But is that the area? So why are we moving out there? If you want to help downtown Brownsville, if you want to help Southmost, if you want to help West Brownsville, you don't build this big time building or move City Hall over there. Thankfully, they haven't moved City Hall, but they're practically moving everything over there, aren't they? They're moving the police, the fire station. Are they moving? Are they also moving municipal court? What else are they moving out there? I don't know. I think they posted it. I mean, if you're able to post it, Frankie, I don't think you can right now, but maybe later, maybe another show, we can talk about that. But why is everything moving out there? I mean, you already have the reimagining of the sports park, right? All that millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars that we have put into the sports park. We're going to put more into it because we need to reimagine what the sports park can be with this professional soccer league. The same professional soccer league that was in the Valley for a few years in Edinburgh, where they have, 1 million people that live in Hidalgo County. I know that, I think, they had a bunch of people you have a lot of people that come from Monterrey in northern Mexico to go into that area. Have a lot of travel over there. It didn't make it over there, but somehow or another, we're going to be different. We're going to be special. We're going to be awesome.
Yeah, in regards to the soccer team, Roman, maybe we could focus on that on Monday.
Yeah. No, local more issues. Let's talk about college stuff.
I did get information in regards to the soccer league, because while the city did sign a letter of intent, this is just in the preliminary stages. This isn't final. This isn't it's a done deal. I would dare say that they're lacking funding. That's what they're in search of. So on Monday, I do want to focus just on the soccer league and talk about some information that I came across in regards to capital, in regards to investors, because it's a large sum of money. And without sounding negative, I don't think we're going to find someone or partners that are willing to throw that amount of money.
Yeah.
Toker says, what folks are asking is pretty reasonable. Good schools, safe neighborhoods, and a functional government. Did we have a functional government at the federal level before with the previous administration? Do we have a functional government, safe neighborhoods with this current governor in the state of Texas, Roman?
I mean, I think we have safe. I mean, you had the mayor of Brownsville yesterday speaking at Coffee with the Mayor, Coffee with the Mayor. He was asked about ICE. He was asked about whether or not local police is assisting in ICE, and instead of just saying no and yeah, he went off on a rambling thing, and It's okay. I mean, open your mouth and talk. It's okay. And so he talked about, oh, we're the 16th safest city in the country. Okay, great. Yeah. Tell that to the people in South Coast who sometimes discharge weapons or whatever, in the middle of the night. It is what it is. Do we have safe neighborhoods? I think we have. Overall, I think we have safe neighborhoods. We have crime that happens. It happens everywhere. Um, you know, but we relatively have safe neighborhoods. What I think is, the governor is putting a lot of resources in terms of, National Guard and DPS to try to make the valley safer and even better. Even though you have local politicians, whether it's the mayor in Brownsville, the mayor of McAllen, or mayors in other areas that are more likely Democrats. I'm not saying that John and Javi is not. He's a Republican, but he's more of a person that an economic Republican, I guess you could say. That's what I think anyway. And they want to talk about the Chamber of Commerce ideas, which is we're great, we're safe, everything's wonderful. We don't want to talk about federal issues. Let's not talk about that kind of stuff. And that's what happens, right? That's what they want to talk about. Do I think that we're safe? Yes, I think we're ultimately overall we're safe, and I want to believe that. You want good schools? Yeah, we want good schools. Absolutely, I don't disagree. We want a functional government. In terms of what you're saying in the federal level, we had a functional government. I don't think we had a functional government we had a president who was auto pen president. We are now learning more and more through reporting. I think Jake Tapper's book, even though people gave him a lot of grief over the fact that he had disinformation, that he was working on a book to sell to make money, and he knew stuff about the president and his mental health condition. We can't have that. We cannot have that. And apparently that's what we had under the Democratic White House. We had a country that was running amok. Now, I think, Toker, you're saying that this country is in trouble. I think what you're saying, I wouldn't disagree with what you're saying. I think the message behind what you're saying, I would disagree with, because I think we're coming in from two different perspectives. You're coming in from a completely perspective. I'm going to assume that you think that President Trump is a horrible, horrible president. He's like the worst person, and you almost want to call him the H word, and I'm not going to use the H word, the H word. You think he's horrible, horrible, and that's why you think the country's in trouble, right? I'm going to assume that's what you think. But I think the country is in trouble because you have, again, a Democratic Party that's leaderless, that is being run by you all's grassroots. And there is a tinge of dehumanization of conservatives by the left, where you have, they'll say he's dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. And it's almost like it's a dog whistle or a code word, where if you hear it enough, you start thinking, is he really dangerous? Or when you got like the certain activists, like they're coming after your lifestyle. Oh my God. Oh, and it just takes that one person to snap. And it's almost like a wink and a nudge, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more kind of stuff, where, oh, he's dangerous, he's bad, he's a horrible, he's a fascist, he's a dictator, he's an authoritarian. And that kind of language in the wrong head, to giving it to the wrong ears in the wrong head, can lead to problems. And it seems like, when you have a citizenry that are Gen Zers right now, when we hear them being polled, where like barely a majority of those people polled believe it's wrong to have political violence. I think the YouGov poll, I think it said, or maybe it was a different PVV poll. It came out maybe like 3 or 4 days ago. In that poll, it was like, what, 55% of people that are Gen Zers believed it's not, that it was abhorrent essentially to have political violence. That means there were 45% or less. There were people out there that thought political violence is a good thing. Is that why you have people cheering the fact that Charlie Kirk was murdered in cold blood? And that we cannot, a society like that cannot sustain itself. And so, yeah, do I believe the country's in trouble? I think we're in trouble because of things like that. You have people that, don't even really know what define a mass shooting differently than I would consider what a mass shooting is. A mass shooting is not I mean, what happened in front of the Brownsville PD the other day, horrible. Just broke my heart. It just sad. I don't want to see that anywhere. Domestic violence, perceived domestic violence, it's horrible. It's mean. It's just, there's no place for that, right? No place for that. But I think the definition that some people use will call that a mass shooting when the guy shot at his wife, allegedly, and then turned the weapon on himself. They're going to call that a mass shooting. Was it really a mass shooting? No. It wasn't like a targeting the hundreds of people or 25 people or whatever. But they're going to call it a mass shooting. And so we're going to have different definitions. It's very difficult. And I think most Americans would believe that would not be a mass shooting. Terrible event, horrible event, disgusting. Or what happened yesterday with those police officers in Pennsylvania that were shot and killed. Horrible. We don't know the whole story yet. I think they were serving a warrant or something. I think it has something to do with domestic violence as well. So that's problematic. So there are issues like that we can talk about. And I think we have to come together as a country, but until the Democratic, but on the political level, until the Democratic Party can have a leader that will say, we're not going to listen to those crazies those crazies. I don't care what they say. We're going to lead them and they're going to come on our side. That until we have something like that on the Democratic side, the Democratic Party is going to be all scattered everywhere. Say what you will about the Republican Party, but for many times, if you talk to Republicans at the state level or in Austin, or I would venture to say even in Washington, D.C., the people that are in charge of our government, the staffers, the elected people, they don't give a rat's ass about what the grassroots of the Republican Party think. They don't. They don't care what 62 people in the state Republican Executive Committee in Austin care. They don't care. They don't care what 5,000 delegates of the Republican Party are voting on at these conventions. They just, they pat them on the head and go and do the wave. They don't care. They're going to do what they want to do. And guess what? At the end of the day, they get reelected. Why? Why? Because they're leading to a certain. I may not agree with all the things they're doing, but they're going to go. They're going to say we have the most conservative session ever. They're leading. They're not listening to the grassroots. They think the grassroots is crazy. Okay, they think, and guess what? Maybe the Democratic Party in Washington needs to do the same thing and say, you know what? We're not going to listen to those crazies, those people that are out there cheering the death of Charlie Kirk. Yeah, punto. No, we're not listening to them. But they are listening to them because I think they're scared. I think elected Democrats, I think they're terrified of their base because of what the political reported. And if you don't believe me, read the political report where they said, I think we need to punch him in the face or whatever. Or we need to fight back. And they meant it. They're scared. They're terrified. I mean, they're not even going to be able to go on the record to say what their constituents are telling them. They're people. That's the problem. I mean, that is a real problem. And I think our country is in trouble until the Democratic Party comes to its senses. I want a vibrant two-party system to a certain extent, but you can't rationalize and you cannot negotiate and you can't rationalize with people that are out there celebrating the death of a man who was shot in the neck for daring to go talking in college campuses. Can't. The guy was one of the best of us. Okay. He was a Christian man, a family man. He was a nice guy. If you see some of his videos, he would go and talk to porn stars and where you had and I think he posted it on the media where he's talking to a porn star and they said, wow, you're like the nicest guy that's come here. Essentially, like you're pleasant. You're not angry. And all he wanted to do to those porn stars or those sex addicted women that were there, I'm assuming they were sex addicted. I don't know. I can't read their brains, but All he wanted to do was tell him, hey, I hope you can get married. I hope you can have a good life. I want that for you. He's a nice guy. And for that, he was killed. And that's what people on the left need to understand, that people on the right, like me, and I'm going to dare say Frankie, are really upset because all he wanted to do was talk to people, and you killed him. And I say you because that guy was listening to poison going into his head, and he became a leftist, and he thought he was a horrible. That's what happened to the guy, right? I mean, let's not pretend that that's not what happened. Yeah, so it's really frustrating. Oh, then you will vote for Mayra Flores because I don't think Mayra Flores has ever gotten APAC money. Ask yourself, has Chente Gonzalez received APAC money?
How much?
I don't know.
Ooh,
just
we
look.
have our homework to do.
I don't know.
I don't know. Then.
I don't know. Just figure out whether or not, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, that was my understanding, was that Mayra has never received money from APAC. But I believe Chente has. I mean, I could be wrong on that one, and I'll readily admit when I might be wrong. But this was secondhand information. I did not look at it myself.
Interesting.
Even through all that, Gumbo, I'm trying to sound reasonable. You see, I can't. Even when I try to sound reasonable, you have to go out there cheaters. I'm not a cheater. I've never cheated on my life.
We can never win. We can never win.
Never win. Okay, let's go back to that big one that Cindy Ariana wrote that I was talking. I didn't read it. Do you mind? I want to read what she wrote. Is it horrible? I don't know what she was saying. Thank a Republican today. Okay, I wonder if everybody. I'm quoting what she's reading. So everybody, don't get mad. Thank a Republican today. I voted accordingly. Last week, the U.S. Department of Education announced it would not distribute millions of dollars in grants for minority-serving institutions, including more than $200 million in already appropriated funding for Hispanic-serving institutions, or HSIs. At least 25% of students in all of San Antonio's major colleges and universities are Hispanic, making them eligible to apply for HSI grants. Several San Antonio colleges were awarded HSI grants. And ... I can't read the rest because that's all that came up. I'm sure there was more. So there you go. I think this is similar to what happened with the money that was supposedly go to from Department of Education over the summer, where you had the Brownsville ISD freak out and start, oh, we don't know what we're going to do. We're not going to get all this money. We're not going to get money. We get the federal government being screwed. All they were trying to do was, okay, I'm not quoting that they said they was all screwed, but, paraphrasing, they wanted to make sure that the money that's going out does not run afoul of the executive order that President Trump has done, when it comes to DEI. And the goal of President Trump and the goal of Republicans right now is to try to eliminate race-based financing. And he wants everything to be equal, doesn't want it to be based on race, wants to be based on merit. And so maybe that's what this is about. They want to make sure that the money is not going for that kind of stuff. Mass shootings are majority right wing. I'm not going to listen to those acronym people. I'm not. I think the Southern Poverty Law Center is a bunch of crock. That's my personal opinion. Oh, so you looked it up. Mayra Flores received $5,000 and Chente Gonzalez received $50,000. Well, there you go. Thank you. I'm assuming you AI'd it. I'm assuming. Well, Mayra has received it, and my understanding was she hadn't received any, but I guess she did. Maybe she was. It was unbeknownst to her. But $50,000 for Chente, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a Democrat, right? Maybe you shouldn't be happy, yo, Toker. I mean, I guess you're definitely not voting for Chente now. $50,000, a lot of money. A lot of money. I'm sure once the anointed Mayra she'll be getting a cool fight. I don't think so. I'll be honest with you. I really am surprised with the 5,000. That's surprising to me. But regardless, that's a lot closer to zero than 50,000. And no, I don't think so, because she's more of an America First candidate, and there's people that don't necessarily want to be having an allegiance to another country other than America. I mean, for better or for worse, people might attack her for being born in Mexico. If she already has that, you want her to be being pressured to vote a certain way because of a foreign country? I doubt it. And it doesn't mean we can't support Israel. It doesn't mean we can't, support Israel. It just doesn't mean that we're not going to, they're not going to be putting pressure on her to vote a certain way.
Interesting. So these congressional races, 15 and 34, will be very interesting. Will more candidates jump in to the primaries? December the 8th is the deadline for the filing. Primaries are in March, with the general election in November. Best believe we will cover this moving forward in great detail. Roman, I also wanted to get your thoughts in regards to Cameron County. I just learned of two candidates that will be challenging incumbent Joey Lopez, who currently is the Precinct 2 commissioner for Cameron. What are your thoughts? And I wanted you to talk about, or I wanted us to talk about this with the community, because it seems as if, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems as if this is possibly the most challengers that Joey Lopez has ever had in his political career at the county. Should he be alarmed by these two Democratic candidates and potentially a Republican candidate challenging him
Yes.
for his seat?
Yeah, 100%. No, I think he should be very worried, very concerned that he's going to have a competitive primary. I think he still beats Martin Rambola and Lucio? Yeah, I think he still wins. I mean, he has the money, but is his heart in it? He went out there and started putting up signs like crazy. Trying to scare everybody. Like, look all kind of support I'm getting, to scare off any potential Democrat opponents. And they were not scared. They're still running. You're going to have to run a competent campaign. You're going to have to go out there and block walk. You're going to have to go do, your pachangas. You're going to have to do all that kind of stuff you have to do to be able to win. And, Joey has the money. Does Martin and this Lucio guy, does he? And now I don't know if he's a Lucio. What kind of Lucio is he? Is he related to Senator Lucio's family, or is he a Lucio through a different Lucio? Like Omar Lucio had no relation to Eddie Lucio, the late former sheriff. I don't know. But it'll be interesting in that race. And yes, I think any Republican that runs has a very good chance of winning that race. I believe there's at least one person that's running as a Republican, and they have not announced, so I'm not going to say the name. But I think a Republican wins that race, especially if Joey's not the nominee. A Republican wins that race, hands down. Yeah, I take it to the bank, because that particular map is won by Governor Abbott, if I'm not mistaken. I think President Trump won that map, and I want to say maybe Myra did too, or I got pretty darn close to it. And in a midterm election, Democrats might not necessarily come out to vote. It benefits Republicans in that timeline. I think a Republican wins that race, especially if we put up a good fight. And again, they're going to have funding. As I told you, Project Red Texas is going to be funding Republican candidates. And if you have Republicans united, we can definitely win that race. I can see it happen. Now, that doesn't take into account your supposed story, which, again, I don't agree with. I'm putting it out there. I don't agree with your story. I think it's not true. According to your story, you have former, City Commissioner Pedro Cardenas running for County Commissioner as a Precinct 2 as a Republican. Makes it even more competitive. I mean, Joey's going to be
exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, is he going to win without a runoff? I mean,
Do you
people
think he
have.
could win Roman, do you think he could win the primary without a runoff?
Yes, I mean, we had Democrats do it all the time. I mean, Omar Lucio famously, up until he lost, he'd beat the crap out of people because he was a damn good campaigner. Is Joey Lopez a good campaigner? I don't know. He how many offices did Joey Lopez run before he finally won? He might have run more times than your Theo did before your Theo won. I'm being funny. I'm I'm joking here, but yeah, I mean, how good of a campaigner is he? Remember, there's that one issue. Those are these two issues that if I'm Martin Rambola and this Lucio guy running on, just those two issues: the arena and the pay raises. That's it. Talk about the fact that he gave himself almost a 25% raise. That's what he did. That's what Joey Lopez did. And he supported this arena that was going to be problematic, that the people had already told him not once, not twice, but now 3 times told him, no, don't do the arena. Run on those 2 issues and you have a shot of being able to beat him in the primary. And let's say he escapes the primary and wins the primary, whether in a primary election only in March or a primary runoff, he was going to be messed up. He's going to be exhausted, I think I should say. Exhausted. And again, the Republicans are going to run on the same issue, those 2 issues and more, talking about, their background and why you should vote this way. And if people vote Republican straight up and down the ballot, are Democrats going to be enthusiastic to come out to vote in November? I don't believe so. This time in 2017, you began to see the beginning of a big, massive Democratic wave against Trump because of Beto, Robert Francis O'Rourke. Even though Trump was on the ballot, it was against Trump. You started seeing it already by September of 2017. You're not seeing that statewide right now. And at that time in 2018, for the election of 2018, you still had the palanca. You don't have the palanca anymore. You had those 2 things going against you as Democrats. So, of course, a Republican has a shot. And that's why we as Republicans should unite. Have our primary. But after the primary's over, we come together and we unite and not fight amongst each other and not say, you're not Republican enough or whatever. You can talk about that when they're in office if you want to. I do it. I mean, I criticize people who I felt are, not Republican enough or not conservative enough. I do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the American way, right? That's a Republican way. That's the way party politics is. But it does not mean that we cannot come together and vote for Republicans straight up and down the ballot. Oh, Patricia Hernandez said, county is needing new representation, new faces who need money as well. What do you mean, who need money? What do you mean by that? I'm curious what you mean by that. All right, because are you saying that they need new money in terms of financing to run their campaigns? Or do you mean who need money like they need a job? I don't know what you mean. Yeah. It'll be a fun race. El Toker. Texas is screwed, he says. He writes, any out of hand protest will land you in jail with those charges. I don't think so. I think there was an incident in that there was a person that was damaging or going after a candle vigil for Charlie Kirk, and that's not right. That's wrong. We shouldn't do that. I mean, let's be kind people. I mean, I don't have a problem with you, Toker. We can agree to disagree, and it's fine. That's the American way. It's okay. But don't go to a candlelight vigil and that's there and go after it and not expect a response from people who are emotional right now. They're hurting. You have to understand they're hurting. All these new candidates need a job. I thought that's what you meant, Patricia. I like the way you think, Patricia. I don't know. We really talked enough about the race for Congress. I think we talked more about 15 than we did for 34, Frankie. Is it okay? We go back a little bit on that. And the reason I want to is I want to let you know that, Myra is going to be speaking at the Youth Summit in Houston, I believe tomorrow or Saturday. And it is my understanding. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't as clear as I am because I sometimes slouch and I come back. I'm like Arch Manning, sad, like that. Everything's in my head and not sitting up front like you should. Anyway, she was, my understanding was supposed to speak at the Youth Summit, and she was supposed to speak with Charlie Kirk. And it was my understanding that she was going to be on a panel with him, and they were going to talk about Hispanics and how the Hispanic youth can be Republicans and whatnot. And she was going to have that conversation along with Charlie Kirk. And so, for all those people out there that claim that Charlie Kirk is was some sort of fascist racist or whatever, he wasn't. And I feel bad. I feel sad for the youth summit that Charlie's not going to be there, because he was supposed to be there. And I don't know what the youth summit is going to do, and to honor Charlie. But it'll be touching, because a lot of those young people knew who Charlie was. He was a real rock star. I think I read somewhere or heard something today or yesterday that they were like, if there was one Republican you wanted to meet other than Trump, for the young people, it was Charlie Kirk. And so that's what I mean by people hurting Toker. You can belittle him and belittle his memory if you want to. But it does not going to take away the fact that people are hurting and people respected him on the Republican side, on the conservative side. Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated, but I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags and have staff calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was. He was a non-violent activist. No different than somebody like Martin Luther King Jr. No different than really RFK Sr. And we honor those individuals. Just because you don't agree with their ideology, there's no way that you cannot say that Charlie Kirk was not a non-violent activist or conservative. So it's okay to honor him in that way. And the president wanted to honor him because that was his friend. And it's okay. I don't have a problem with it, because we have to remember that he really was just speaking at a college with thousands of people when he was shot in the neck. It still bothers me, and it should bother you, Toker. It should bother everybody. The guy was speaking, and he wasn't even able to say a word after he was shot in the neck. Yeah. About Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home. Wesley said, "What? I don't know." Oh, did we miss something? I don't know. I don't know. I think he gave a damn. I think a lot of us did. I was disgusted by the fact that a Democrat was killed in her home with her husband. I mean, it's disgusting. It's horrible. It's wrong. But this whole both sides-ism stuff, right now, the problem is on the left. It really is. But it doesn't mean I can't say, or Republicans like myself will not say that what happened to her was wrong and abhorrent and disgusting. Shouldn't have happened. The guy was mentally ill, and I hope they throw the book at him, even though he was mentally ill, and we don't do that apparently anymore. But maybe we need to open up the asylums again. I don't know. Maybe we need to do that. Who knows? MAGA is mad because they lost their megaphone and no one to fill that voice. Don't blame others, but those within. Are you blaming MAGA? Are you blaming Republicans, conservative Republicans, for Charlie Kirk being assassinated? Is that what you're doing? Because he wasn't a MAGA person. He wasn't a conservative Republican. He was a leftist. How are you saying within? Please don't come here and say that. I mean, I respect you, Gamboa, but come on. No. Okay. Let's talk more back again, 34. I just wanted to bring that up about Charlie and about Myra, that I thought that was an interesting thing. And going back to Eric Flores was in DC, speaking to people, trying to get them to support him. I don't know if that worked. He's out there pointing out that he was in D.C. and Washington and, meeting out there. Great. Congratulations. I mean, I believe even Bam Morales, when he was a candidate, he went over there as well. I mean, you go up there if you're a candidate. You try to go up there and meet with people. But I don't believe at the end of the day that they're going to endorse him or support him. They might have done it before Myra got in, but now when Myra's in, it's not going to happen. It's not going to. I do find it interesting that I don't know. I said this to you, but there was a Nueces County Republican Club meeting that occurred on Monday, and Myra Floaters was there, and I had a friend of mine that was also there at that event, and they told me that Robin Armstrong, the Republican National Committeeman, was there, and he was talking so much highly of Myra, to people and telling them how awesome Myra was and is, and how we as Republicans should vote for her and support her. And then he was like, "Oh no, is her opponent here? Oh, oh." He was apparently he had already stepped down. He's like, "Okay, great. Okay, I can say that. Yeah, we need Myra in there." And so, yeah, so there is already a movement. I don't even in Nueces County, and I think you were alluding to that, Frankie, with people with the rock star thing. People are just excited to meet her. Hello?
Yes, that's true. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Very very quickly, I know you got off it. In regards to the Cameron County race, I find it very interesting, Roman, that Joey Lopez has challengers. You mentioned how county commissioners, the judge, they gave himself a raise. Is that a good look to the community? The county judge. Thank you. The county judge also, Joey Lopez was supportive of the arena. We saw how the voters in Cameron County voted 3 times against this initiative. It seems as if, correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems as if, and I hate to use this analogy or this term, but that there's blood in the water. Because again, I can't remember a time Joey Lopez had multiple candidates, one in the primary, and then also as a Republican, we did report that there is this possibility or this rumor going out there that Pedrito Cardenas, the city Brownsville commissioner, is going to run for District 2 as a Republican. Is it fair to say, Roman, that people do see or smell blood in the water, and maybe they're saying that what once was thought of Joey Lopez being a strong commissioner possibly is vulnerable right now?
Yeah, I think they think he's vulnerable. I mean, Martin Arambla was, I believe, a port commissioner at one point. He's run for other offices as well. He's well known in the community, well established, has a name. I don't know if he'll be able to win this race, honestly. Because he's run so many times before, people may not take him seriously. But at the same time, look what happened with Joey. He ran, he's run multiple times and finally won a race and did that. So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that he has this many people running against him. I am kind of surprised. I expected maybe one person running, but not 2. And it's really going to depend on whether these guys can, whether him and Lucio, either one of them, can resonate with voters. I mean, I read some of the things that Lucio was saying, and it's like, I'm kind of meh. Sound like he sounds kind of like a weak candidate, going all over the place, not too undifferent than, seeing what the Republican challenger to Jane Lopez is doing. I mean, some of the things that are on her advertisement stuff or push cards are just, it's all over the place. There's not a concentrated message. And I think that's happening with this guy. It is what it is. I'm not saying I'm perfect when it comes to giving political advice or anything like that, but I mean, I would expect that a little bit more, a little tighter campaign, especially, after making the announcement. And I don't know what Martin Ramble's, race is going to look like or what he's going to do, what he's going to say. But it'll be interesting because let's look at the timeline from now until March. We're already over halfway through of September. You're going to have October. People are going to start filing in early November all the way till December. And you're going to have Thanksgiving in there, and you have Christmas. Nobody cares about politics. Between Thanksgiving, like the week of Thanksgiving through the second week of January, nobody cares about politics. So if you're a candidate out there right now that's running, you need to start putting the work now, because once we get to Thanksgiving, you take a break for like 2 months. You're not going to be able to really. You're going to try to do your best, but everyone's going to tune you out. And then by the second week of, let's say Reyes Magos, once that happens, then people might start paying attention again. And even still, they may not. And then you already have people voting in February, like a month later. So there isn't a lot of time for you to get your team off the ground. So if your message right now is out all over the place, you're not tight, you don't have your push card, 6 months goes like that, because we're less than 6 months away. Like, just so quick. We're like, what, 5 months away, really, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. 5 months away from the early voting, right?
Exactly. I mean, and 2 months there, month and a half there, you're not even doing anything. So you should be out there. I mean, people might think I'm stupid.
No, you make perfect sense, Roman, because again, during the holidays, no, it's only us. It's only us nerds that are, we live, breathe, and crap this stuff of politics. Families, young teenagers, they're more worried about buying the turkey, hanging out with the family, watching football. I would dare say that to the average Joe out there, politics is probably 3, probably 4, possibly 5, 5th on their list of priorities during Thanksgiving, during Christmas, during the New Year. So that's why I find it hard, and I hate to bring him in. That's why I find it hard to believe that Steve Guerra, who is rumored to make an announcement to run for Cameron County Judge, that he's possibly waiting to the 11th, 12th hour. Now, again, Steve does not suffer from lack of name recognition. Everyone knows who he is. Steve doesn't lack the ability to raise money. He's obviously shown that. Maybe that's a strategy that is only beneficial to him, Roman, and he's a unique candidate. I don't see it working in his favor. But again, he has a lot more information that I am privy to. You're on mute.
Sorry. It's interesting you say that he has high name recognition. Does he really, outside of Brownsville?
Well,
I mean, he does have those TV ads going out there all over the place on behalf of the Port of Brownsville. Maybe that's increasing his name ID. That's interesting. Let's put Gamboa's comment, because I want to answer it real quick if I can. Roman, why do you refuse to speak of the power struggle within MAGA? It's obvious between Myra and Monica and Paxton and Cornyn. Were you here for like the first 30 minutes of the show? I mean, like, I literally talk about the fact that Myra and Monica don't like each other, allegedly. I mean, really? You're going to come at me with that, Gamboa? Like, come on. And again, I think earlier I did say that there's people don't necessarily understand the differences within the Republican Party. This whole MAGA Republican thing is just a MAGA Republican thing. It's just like, it's just the title that people want to use. It's just no different than the title of being Tea Party or whatever. But essentially in Texas, as it is with Paxton and Cornyn, it's the grassroots, what people are perceived to be the grassroots, and people to perceive to be the establishment. So it used to be back in the day, it would be like the country club Republicans would be considered the establishment Republicans. And then you'd have the grassroots Republicans, the outsiders. That's what it boils down to. We've always had that in the Republican Party in Texas. We just have. So there is no MAGA power struggle. It's just a power struggle between conservative establishment Republicans and conservative grassroots activists. It's just what it is. And between Cornyn and Paxton, it's because there are people in the Republican Party, delegates in particular, and people do not like where Cornyn stands. Remember, he was booed at the state convention, and I believe it was in Houston. He was booed for what he did when it comes to making a deal with Joe Biden when it came to this, gun control. I mean, he was booed. So yeah, and Paxton is conservative Republican, and he's always been antagonistic towards people. At least I wouldn't say always, because I think he was more of when he was in the state house, he wasn't exactly a grassroots type state Republican. He wasn't. He was more, but he has rebranded himself as such and being a fighter. And maybe some other day I will talk about the story of how Paxton met with with President Trump. He told that story to Republicans, and it's an amazing story. But regardless, he's a big ally of President Trump, and he's going to try to make it seem that Cornyn is not. I mean, it's called a primary, and there's no power struggle. It's a primary, and Democrats are going to have a primary too. Like Democrats have a primary for the U.S. Senate. You have Colin Allred, who was the previous nominee for U.S. Senate against Senator Cruz last go around. And then this guy named James Tallarico who's running, who's like this young guy, from the Austin area. He's a very leftist. I don't know who else is running. I think there's another big name Democrat that's running for U.S. Senate. That's going to be a power struggle. Who's going to win that one? Is it going to be the supposed moderate, quote unquote moderate Colin Allred? Or is it going to be the leftist liberal from progressive from Austin, James Tallarico? Who's going to win that one? And I think there's somebody else potentially running for Senate that I can't remember the names of those people. Who's going to win that? Power struggle. Okay. But yeah, what were you asking more about hopefully I answered your question, Gumbo. I hope I did. President Trump is departing the United Kingdom after his historic second trip. That's what he's doing right now. It's really cool. Really cool seeing him get onto Marine Force One. I think it's Marine One. I don't know. Get on there, do that, and he goes to Air Force One and flies off. It's cool. It's really American. Gamboa, the Texas Republican establishment always got along with Mexicans. The grassroots MAGA are cruel to the Mexicans. Oh, you mean the open borders Republicans, establishment Republicans? You mean like the ones that hang out with the country club, the Chamber of Commerce? You mean the ones that support illegal immigration? Is that what you're trying to imply? Or the ones that want to do immigration reform so they can get cheap ass labor? Which I don't want cheap ass labor. That's bad for labor, right? I mean, you're liberal, right? Do you want labor as in like the unions to have all these people from immigrants and have cheaper labor and undercutting the unions? Is that what you want? I'm very confused by what you want or don't want. And I don't think grassroots MAGA people are cruel to Mexicans. I mean, if you're going to associate and claim that MAGA is kind of like the Tea Party or the next Tea Party, Jessica Puente Bradshaw, she ran for Congress and she's a naturalized citizen. I don't know if she's still here. She commented earlier. Maybe you weren't here when she commented. I don't think she was cruel to Mexicans. Anyway, let's do a couple more comments and stuff, and it's almost 11 o'clock, and I probably need to be leaving at 11. Is Tyler good? I have no idea. He hasn't. He doesn't have to do his campaign finance report until October, so he'll have until September 30th to raise money, and we'll find out in October. Who's going to replace the Mexicans? I don't know. The Chinese? The Venezuelans? I don't know. I don't know who's going to replace the Mexicans. Americans? I don't know. Oh gosh, it's going to be a fun time with politics. I will say that I think Myra's going to be fine, going to win, and hopefully we'll have her on the show. Maybe we'll have her on the show at some point. I know that some of the people that are running on the Republican side are making their rounds on podcasts all over the place. So I would expect them to want to come on. Are you going to want to do something like that? Or are you going to want to interview these people? Or
sure, whenever we have a better idea of all the players, yeah, of course. Once we get closer to I would say October, possibly early November, we can start getting the community informed in regards to these races. I think that'd be a great thing moving forward. Roman, thank you so much for your time.
Cool.
Any last words in regards to District 34 and the Cameron County Precinct 2 race?
I'm looking forward to that Precinct 2 race. I think it's going to be exciting on the Democratic side, and I would still expect Joey to win, but he might not. And I think 34 is going to be fun. I still am curious whether or not you're going to end up being right about Chente. I don't think you are. You may have stopped it, Frankie. You may have stopped it from happening. But it'll be fun. We'll talk about 34 and 15 and always and see what little tidbits of information I find out there and share what I can with you all. Because I think y'all should know some of the things that we know. I know Frankie knows a lot. And he was a little quiet today for other reasons, but tomorrow, we're going to talk sports tomorrow. It'll be fun. So join us tomorrow for sports.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, and
Roman.
subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Make sure you
Help
subscribe
Frankie.
to the YouTube channel.
Please
Thanks,
subscribe.
Roman.
I mean, if you're on Facebook right now, go get your Gmail account or whatever and subscribe to his YouTube channel. I mean, come on. I mean, help him out. If you want to see Frankie, succeed, help him out there. So go to the YouTube right now and ask your friends to subscribe to it. It doesn't mean it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. Maybe people are fearful of the word subscribe and don't understand. It costs you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great Thursday. Join us tomorrow 9 a.m. for Sports Talk. Roman, have a good Thursday, Roman.
You too. God bless.
Peace.